Moscow World Service. On Tuesday, the opening day of the 27th Congress of the Soviet Communist Party, the General Secretary, Mikhail Gorbachev, delivered a political report. The American Communist Party leader, Gus Hall, shares his impressions with Alexander Maravetsik.
Comrade Hall, perhaps a few words about how it all started, your impressions of the opening ceremony at the Congress.
Well, it's obviously a historic Congress, and I think the report of Comrade Gorbachev measures up to that level of history. And because it's not just a report, that reports what's happening, but it was a report in depth. It analyzed problems very deeply, and there are many features to it that will stand out for a long time. First of all, it was a challenge to the war makers of the world, and because he answered the Reagan administration's latest so-called answer to the Soviet proposals, it is very timely, and he proved that Reagan's answers were not answers at all. So in that sense, it was a very timely report in the struggle for peace. I think it was a further and a continuation of the proposals that the Soviet Union had been making on questions of ending the nuclear arms race, on the question of moratorium on testing, and so on. I think he elaborated on that and in a sense kind of placed the question that there really is no other option, that the only real option from the nuclear arms race is to end it, and that the concrete proposals that the Soviet Union has given is the method that the race can be ended. So in that sense, he went further and proved that it's the only option available for a world. I think there are many things about the word quality comes to mind when you think about the report, in the sense that he spoke about new quality, first of all in production in the Soviet Union, new quality of life, new quality in the approach to work, new quality in leadership, and on and on. The question of quality comes to mind, new quality, and a sense also a theme that I think kind of runs through it, and that is that there will be no excuses. All excuses have come to an end, and that kind of is the spirit of the whole report. There are a number of things he said about socialism that I thought also were interesting. For instance, the way that he placed the question that socialism is a realistic option open for all people of the world. I think that's a very, correct and an interesting way to place it. That it's an option that's open for everybody, and therefore it's offered as a solution to the problems that the people face. Also on socialism, I think his emphasis, and I think correctly so, when he said that the world does not see socialism anymore as an error of history, that it's not an error, and that it's a legitimate and a natural and a logical dialectical development from the world process. And again, he dealt, in my opinion, very realistically about socialism and so on. Also, I thought the phrase that he used, that the world is full of hope and danger, and that these two things, hope and danger, intermingle in the world, and I think that also is correct and applies very much to the problems in the United States. Now, I thought it was an excellent report, and it's a kind of a report that you have to study, because it had a certain depth to it on all questions, and that he, in fact, it's a kind of a textbook on politics, textbook on ideological struggles, textbook on diplomacy, and textbook on building socialism, and that it has all these qualities, and therefore I think it was a very exceptional report.
Comrade Gorbachev dwelt at length on the present state of Soviet-American relations, this pivotal point of the present world. And in this connection, he spoke about the way to reduce tension between the two states. And of course, the main obstacle on the way remains the militarization of outer space. How do you regard the plans to implement the Star Wars program by Washington?
Yes, I think he dealt with these relationships very well. I think both tactically and ballistically. In a sense, he was very critical about the fact that the Reagan administration has not responded to the proposals, and including this last letter from Reagan, which obviously just came a day or so ago. But on the other hand, he spoke in a way that the situation is open, and encouraged the Reagan administration to come to it. I think in a way he spoke about the Star Wars is also correct, that the Star Wars is not really what Reagan said it is. It's not a shield against nuclear missiles. It is a shield, but it's a shield to cover up the research and the development of sophisticated, miniaturized nuclear weapons for outer space. And in that sense, it remains a very dangerous thing. And that unless there is some give by the Reagan administration on this question, that there will be very little room for negotiations on the other question, and that remains really the main obstacle to a nuclear peace, is for the Reagan administration to give up this development of new nuclear, sophisticated, miniaturized weapons for outer space. And that remains a key to the relationship between our two countries. And what happened was that the American people developed high expectations that the summit process will continue, and as long as those expectations are there, they will continue to be pressure on the Reagan administration to make concessions and to move on some concrete questions to put an end to this crazy nuclear arms race.
The General Secretary of the Communist Party of the United States, Gus Hall, sharing his impressions of the political report delivered by Mikhail Gorbachev to the 27th Soviet Communist Party Congress with Alexander Barabilchik.